This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Always follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard with you. We are live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Busy 3-hour program lined up today. On the docket, Nick Whalen on the program. Early look, Super Bowl props potentially, NBA games tonight that we have going on. Warren Sharp, his reaction to yesterday, his early gut reaction to the matchup that we have in 2 weeks. And Jima Pelegi is going to be in studio. Circa NFL odds maker, they are announcing Circa Squares and the odds and how they do it on our show coming up at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific time. Yesterday was a doozy of a day in the NFL, and you could not have had back-to-back games that were any different. Nothing happened in the first game, and yet it was unbelievable to me because it's snow football, and we'll touch on this a little bit later on. I can't believe people complain about snow football and inclement weather. It blows my mind. And then you had the game yesterday where it was so good, Paulie. I want to go back and watch it like every day this week, but yet it feels like part of me was completely gutted because of all my Rams futures, and I hope the NFL actually burns all video from the game and it never shows up anywhere ever again. That was painful.
Yep.
Yesterday.
Great job, Sam Darnold. Great job, Seahawks offense. Way to be aggressive. Way to go for it on the final drive. You get the Cup first down. You get the hold on JSN. A terrific back and forth game. I think if they play 100 times, every game's going to be close. Mm-hmm. I just think they're two evenly matched teams, and how the MVP Stafford played in the last two games, and to lose both of them is just unbelievable. But we said two things for months, and especially all week, that the Rams special teams is going to bite them in the ass, and Stidham can't make a big mistake, and Stidham can't be the reason they lose. Mm-hmm. And Stidham was the reason they lost, and the Rams, who were 26th in DVOA and special teams, made the big mistake and the big blunder on the muff punt that changed things as well. And then you couldn't convert there, where it's 4th and 4. They get the stop. They essentially run the clock out, and Sam Darnold was clean. And he did this, and you got to go back to Brady to win back-to-back 14-win seasons, and now the kid's going to the Super Bowl.
So I can't decide which was the bigger back-breaking moment in the game yesterday for Rams backers and future ticket holders on that team as well. That was a masterpiece of a potential championship drive that they were putting on, that 13-play drive that resulted in no points. I cannot believe they did not score on that drive to eventually take the lead back at 30, what would have been 34-31. But also going back to the touchdown when they scored to make it 31-26, you might want to go for two there.
2 minutes left in the third quarter. Yeah, I was surprised. You might need that one. That's a biggie.
Maybe.
That's a biggie. So, and it was a gift, too. That's the other thing. You're playing with house money. Because, as multiple people said, that could have been a Bill Buckner moment for Woolen.
Yeah,
now,
true.
My comeback is, we're not playing for milk and cookies. You're calling that in an NFC title game? You make that call?
Pretty weak sauce.
That was terrible.
Pretty weak sauce, in my opinion.
Who's that exactly for? Because I can intercept a pass, and I gave my buddy Mitch, come on. And the whole team can then run down the length of the field, celebrate, and do a choreograph.
They can dance, take their pants off, do whatever they want.
Right. But if I woof and bark at the sideline, that's taunting.
No good.
And who's that for? How do owners in the competition committee come up with this and say, yeah, we really gotta watch this and hunker down and make sure this isn't a problem in the league.
Uncalled for in this sport. Yeah. Can't have that.
In any event, it was a horrific 3 minutes for the guy. because you're going to get the ball back and then first down, 35-yard line, and then Puka burns you on the next play.
Right in your face.
And then it's game on. So he could have gone for 2, I know. Other people wanted him to kick the field goal. I think, no, you go for it. And it was a bizarre comment from McVay after the game that a busted coverage, 2 guys going on Williams, allowed them to stop the play, which was weird. But
yeah,
they got the stop on 3rd down and 4th down.
I will actually say that the biggest moment of the game, though, was the stretch of time that took place to close up the first half and then to begin the second half. And they'll never be able to get that back. And that was when they took the lead 13-10 after it looked like Seattle was going to do whatever they wanted offensively for the entire game. Rams settled down. They showed some composure. They had a 13-10 lead. They got the ball back with plenty of time to go down there and add points. That could have been 16-10 or maybe even 20-10 with a touchdown. Mm-hmm. But instead, they go 3 and out, and they allowed the Seahawks to go 70-plus yards in under a minute to score a touchdown. And then the Seahawks got the ball back to begin the second half. The defense did a great job getting off the field, and then the blunder of all blunders with the muff punt, like you said.
Yeah.
That stretch. So it goes from potentially Rams 20-10 or 16-10 to Seahawks 24-13 in what felt like a blink of an eye.
Yep.
And they almost came back to win the game. Mm-hmm. But that stretch of time just over. I'll never get it out of my head.
And you know how I feel about it, too. I'm just like, why even put a guy back there? I mean, Smith he's back at his own 10-yard line, and he muffs it.
How do you do that?
He trips. He just falls down.
Oh, my God.
and then all the plays to JSN and how well Darnold played, and they did it. And this guy, I guess I should have seen it coming, being from Minnesota and a Vikings fan, that it's typical Vikings fashion that you have such a great regular season. He implodes in the playoff game. He costs himself money, and they say, well, we have to move on. And, of course, he goes to the Super Bowl. And it's not like they were a bad team. They won 10 games last year.
That's right.
But to go from Darnold to Geno in a well-coached team and a nasty defense, and you add, the Shaheed deal was great as well. But that was a great performance offensively, and I loved how aggressive they were on the final drive. Because a lot of coaches and a lot of teams would just say, run, we'll trust our defense. But they were going pass. You picked up the first down. You got the holding call, and you got the win. You essentially ran out the clock as the Rams didn't have time.
I went back and looked today. The date was February 28th. When I made a limit bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl.
Was it Adams, after the Adams news?
It was after Stafford announced that he was coming back.
Oh, okay.
So February 28th, that's almost 11 months ago to the date. So it was with me for an entire year. Talked about it several times on the show. Love this team going into the season. And look, I'll never understand the crowd that's like, show me your tickets. I don't come from that school of thinking. But for a little context on why that game hurt a little bit yesterday, now this is probably a lot of money for some people. It is nothing, and it's like people scoff at this much. I don't know. People bet this much on games on a weekly basis. I stood to win $75,000 of the Rams winning the Super Bowl. So that would have been a nice chunk of change. That would have been a nice ticket on future bets with that team. And to have them go down like that and lose, but that's typical for them to blow a game like they did. And look, give Seattle a ton of credit. The Rams had that game so many different times yesterday, and the way I look at it, as somebody who lost out on that much money, I think they gave the game away several times yesterday. Uh-huh. Killer loss.
Yep.
But Seattle,
they certainly gave away the 1 seed.
No question they did.
The Thursday night game, special teams got them. The 49er game, the first meeting. The Eagle game, special teams got them. Special teams got them in this one. And all that adds up, and he should have been at home.
To your point about Stafford playing like that twice in a row to the Seahawks in the last 5 weeks, 370-plus passing yards, 3 touchdowns in each game, 3+ in each game, and no INTs. Brady lost twice in his 23 NFL career by doing that. Stafford lost twice to the same team in the last 5 weeks.
Yep.
Also, not all games are created equally. I get that. But the 2 MVP short shots here, that's going to come down to Stafford, absolutely brilliant. Again, passer rating of 127.6, 374 overall, 3 touchdowns, and a loss. Drake May completed 10 out of 21 for 86 yards, 1 touchdown, and had a passer rating of 58.8. They won the game.
They had one nice drive.
Yeah, that was it.
I know.
They did absolutely nothing in the entire game, and I know everybody's talking about the 3 points by Peyton. That's not results-based. That was real time, where people were like, what are you doing, man?
Right.
You need to kick this field goal right now, which was shorter than an extra point.
And a lot of people showed their text threads going back and forth.
Yep.
About you got to kick the field goal here and go up 10-0. in what should be a low-scoring game and your defense is balling out. What are you doing? After the game, he said, I was thinking 14-0. And the play never had a chance.
Oh, my God
That's
almighty.
the other thing. It was a total jailbreak. But to have your backup, we knew he was going to do it, too. That's the thing. He's so stubborn. To throw the ball in the conditions that we had, 31 times with a backup quarterback and your defense is balling out, that was Sean Payton. And the pass on the field goal, and Nick Bonino said it after. I'm sick. The better team didn't win.
That's absolutely. That's how
Sick
I felt
to
about
my
both
stomach.
games.
That's right.
I honestly, this to me, for some reason, like as somebody who's going to be 50 years old pretty soon, well, in a year, whatever, I can't get over that. That still affects me. So that's always going to be a thing in my life, I guess. I have a problem when the wrong team wins. And I thought the wrong team won both games yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might disagree. That's fine. But to me, that's how I saw both those games.
Well, I think if they have Knicks, they run away with it. But
I would agree.
In any event, if Lutz hits from 45 to tie the game at 10 with 4 minutes left, are they still playing? I mean, you have to think about that. Who's scoring then? That was so bad where all of a sudden, after the New England drive to start the third quarter, and then you get late third, and then early fourth, it's like you can't see anything. And I thought Tracy Wolfson did a great job on the sideline showing the wind and then also how bad it was. Look at this. Good job by Luke. And look at how that
in the span of 10 minutes.
So we knew there was going to be snow in the second half, but we didn't know it was going to be a blizzard and look like that, where you didn't stand a chance, and there were 4 missed field goals, and you could hardly punt. I mean, Denver takes over at the New England 32 after that shanked, and they had the field goal blocked, and that's, I mean, who knows how long that game goes.
I will say, to me, the way it played out, the Patriots realized that the Broncos couldn't do anything on offense in the second half.
Yeah.
So they could not.
32 yards to your point. 32 yards.
Yeah, and that's why Vrabel and the crew, I believe this, that they just said, we don't have to do anything on offense. We can be as conservative as we possibly want now. In fact, as conservative as you think we can be, let's even be more conservative than that. So I think their entire game plan would have changed if the Broncos had that field goal, if they kicked it earlier in the game, or if that one by Lutz would have been good from 45. What a day yesterday. Patriots fans are not going to like my early feel for the game, but I think it's going to surprise you. We'll get into it coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More on yesterday's games. Early look at the Super Bowl. Tonight's NBA card as well. Nick Whalen joins the program now. He's with RotoWire, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Overall, Nick, what did you think of the two results yesterday? We were kind of saying earlier it felt like the wrong team. This is our opinion here. People can disagree, whatever. We thought maybe the wrong team won both games. What do you think?
I think that's a fair assessment, to be honest. And, I hate that both of these games had controversial fourth down decisions, of course, that we're going to be talking about the entire offseason. I did not like the decision by Sean Payton to not go up 2 scores there, given the circumstances, right? Completely different from what we saw in the Rams game, where I think you could reasonably expect the presumptive MVP of the league with 3 chances from the 6-yard line to cash that in with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams at his disposal. But could not believe Sean Payton passed up on a chance to go up 10-0 in a game that you had to think Denver knew the weather was coming, right? You're playing at home. You have to have somebody in the booth or on the sideline saying, hey, this game is going to turn into a blizzard with wind in the second half. We just absolutely need to get points wherever we could grab them. And that just felt like a huge inflection point, of course, in the Denver game. The 2 missed field goals were brutal. The fumble a couple possessions later by Jarrett Stidham. I was sitting there at halftime talking with some buddies, and they're like, man, should we live bet the Broncos in the second half? And I'm like, I don't know if I could get there, man. Like there was a 13-point swing, not taking the points, getting nothing on that drive, missing the field goal, and then giving the Patriots a touchdown on the Stidham fumble. I mean, you guys watch as much ball as anybody. When you leave that many points on the table in the first half, it always comes back to bite you.
Absolutely. The other thing, too, I can't believe throwing 31 times with a backup quarterback who has 1 career win and a guy who loved to bring out trick plays. Spent all season at bizarre times. And if there was ever a time to do it, the little razzle-dazzle, he'd even try that. There was no creativity from Payton.
No, and ironically, it was New England that pulled out the trick.
That's right.
Play, right? I mean, that ended up being the only explosive, really, in the second half, outside of a couple Drake May scampers that count as an explosive play, but weren't really explosive. It was that flea flicker to Matt Collins. And, I think, to me, I came into this game with relatively high expectations for Jarrett Stidham. I didn't think this would be just a total rollover game for Denver. It was clear like 3 or 4 plays in that they were going to go ultra conservative. Stidham had that. It was a screen pass on like the 4th or 5th play of the game where he just rocketed it, past a receiver.
Right.
And you're like, oh boy, okay, maybe he doesn't have that confidence. But then, he throws a long completion and throws a touchdown a couple plays later. And it felt like Denver had some modicum of momentum. But ultimately, guys, in a game that turned into a slot fest in the snow and the wind, it was New England that was kind of better equipped to handle that. I mean, they ended up having 5 explosive runs on the day, 0 for the Denver Broncos. They found ways to move the chains with Ramondre Stevenson. Denver's running game, which was totally absent against a bad run defense in Buffalo, I thought was even worse this week when they absolutely had to have it. They did not have a single play, guys, go for longer than 9 yards in the entire second half.
What do you think of McVay not going for 2 late in the third quarter to make it a 3-point game?
See, I thought that was maybe the more egregious offense than, going forward on 4th down and failing. I thought that was your chance to make that a field goal game and put yourself in position to tie. I had no problem with McVay hitting the gas on 4th down. It was right on that line with about 5 minutes left where you could make a case either way. And, I think in some ways he was vindicated for that decision because they still had plenty of time to get a stop and get the ball back, which, they did, but there was 25 seconds left. You had to go 90 yards. It just wasn't going to happen. The Rams defense couldn't get that stop that they needed. They couldn't get that quick 3 and out that it feels like most defenses can get in those spots when the opponent is just trying to run out clock. So I didn't really have a problem with McVay going for it on the 4th down, but you're totally right. I think there should have been some foresight there to go for 2, especially given how Seattle beat the Rams with 3 2-point conversions during the regular season. Mm-hmm. This was a much better Sean McVay game overall than what we saw last week against the Bears, but those are the little things, right, that you don't expect someone with the profile of Sean McVay to mess up in this spot.
Well said. Totally agree with that comment. And now the books opened up. The Seahawks about 5 last night, did touch 5.5. Buyback on the Patriots down to 4.5. Now totals at 45.5 or 46. Your early thoughts here on the big game?
I'm not surprised that we saw that almost immediate move towards Seattle just because of kind of the reputation of these two teams. I think everybody has come to respect the New England Patriots, but the dominant narrative is still this team hasn't played anybody. And even though, guys, they have faced 3 excellent defenses on this path to the Super Bowl, I think people are going to look at what New England has done offensively and, come away a little bit wanting, right? I mean, I tweeted something last night saying that, the Patriots scored 54 total points in these 3 wins, which is by far the fewest ever in a 3-game run-up to the Super Bowl. And, I got a lot of Patriots fans in my mention saying, well, yeah, they held the opponent to 26. Like, that is true. And they played 2 snow games. They faced 3 defenses that are top 10 in DVOA. And now they're going to face the number 1 DVOA defense. So I think we do need to give the Pats credit for this defensive gauntlet that they've gone through. But it's really hard to come away from what we watched, a 10-7 game, an ugly game against Houston, an ugly game against the Chargers, look at what the Seattle defense has done all season and feel confident in the New England Patriots. So I do think Seattle will end up being by far the public side. But I mean, if this thing gets back out to 5.5, if it touches 6, I think there has to be some buyback here on New England. I mean, we did see the Rams move the ball pretty effectively against that Seattle defense for the second time this season, by the way. It's hard to imagine that New England will be able to lean on the run the way that they have through these first 3 playoff games. So one way that I'm looking to attack this game right away, something I went out and played last night, is the over 31.5 pass attempts for Drake May. I think this has to be a Drake May game. That this cannot be a spot where Ramondre Stevenson is carrying the ball 20 plus times. I see no world in which that script is playing out.
Okay. That was your first bet. Have you made any other bets since?
The other one I like is also a Drake May prop, which ended up cashing yesterday, the over 6.5 rushes. Again, I just see this as a spot where they kind of have to turn things over to Drake May. Maybe you could generate an explosive on the ground with TreVeyon Henderson, who somehow only played 4 snaps yesterday in what was such a run heavy game. But other than that, I just don't feel like you can confidently run on Seattle. And much like we saw in the Denver game and like we saw in the Chargers game in the wild card round, when you have a defense like Seattle that's going to be able to get pressure on that quarterback, they mix in scripted runs every now and then for Drake May, but a lot of these are, all right, Drake May is immediately flush from the pocket. He can pick up 6 yards. He's going to do that. So I do think this is going to be a game that is won or lost on the arm and the legs of Drake May. Hard for me to find much that I liked initially on the Seattle side, guys. The Kenneth Walker props feel like they're juiced up a little bit. This New England defense has played extremely well. They've shut down the run for the last month, and it felt to me like Kenneth Walker had more yards last night than the final box score indicated. So I'm staying away from that. The only other thing that really jumped out to me for Seattle would be the over 2.5 catches for Cooper Kupp. I think games like this, games like yesterday,
yes,
that's the reason you go out and get Cooper Kupp.
Yes, I'm with you on that one. Good observation. A tough scene over the weekend in Minnesota, and the Timberwolves game was postponed, and then they played Sunday, and they certainly didn't look like they wanted to be there. They lost 111-85 to Golden State, and so now they're laying 8.5 tonight on the game on Peacock. What do you think here with if Minnesota bounces back and how many turnovers and how sloppy they were in the last game?
Yeah, I do think this has to be a bounce back for Minnesota almost by default. And it's also worth noting that we don't know if Stephen Curry is going to be out there. It is a back-to-back, of course, for Golden State, and they've been kind of hesitant to throw him out there in those situations as he battles injuries. So part of the lean for me is kind of a hedge that I don't know for sure that Steph is going to be out there. But you said it. I mean, Minnesota had absolutely no interest in that game. That was their worst performance of the season yesterday. Shot 38% from the field. They're turning it over like crazy. Finished with 25 turnovers as a team. 8 of those charged to Anthony Edwards, 5 for DiVincenzo, 4 for Jaden McDaniels. I think we'll see a much better effort tonight out of the Timberwolves. Couple props, guys, that I like in that game. Edwards over 5.5 rebounds. Obviously at 11 yesterday. That's not really the reason that I'm playing this. Golden State has just not been a very good rebounding team, and that's been even worse since Jimmy Butler went down. Edwards gone over this number in 3 straight, averaging just under 6 boards per game in his last 20. Then I like the over 12.5 assists plus rebounds for Julius Randle. Even in that slot fest yesterday, still got to 11 assists plus boards in that game. And again, the Wolves wasted like 30 possessions in that game on turnovers and bad shots, and we're not hitting anything, 38% from the field. So all of this is kind of leading me toward feeling like we get at least some degree of a bounce back tonight for Minnesota.
All right, you went on with Dustin Sweetelson last night on cashing out, and you made the case for Charlotte at the time, plus 2.5 against the 76ers. I get it, no lead safe in the NBA. 8 minutes to play in the third quarter. They're up 82-48 over Philadelphia right now. They're almost up by 40. My God.
What?
Yeah. It's bonkers right now what's going on in the game. So you do, in about a minute here, you like Cleveland as well against Orlando tonight?
I lean Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a really tough one to evaluate, guys, because we have 2 of the 3 worst ATS teams in the NBA going at it. I mean, these are the 2 teams that when you see like a 9.5, 10.5 type of line, I just bet against them every single night. And now, of course, they're playing each other. But I am more down on what I'm seeing from Orlando lately than I am the Cavs. Cleveland's without Darius Garland. The numbers would tell you they have played better on both ends without Darius Garland this season. Whereas with Orlando, you have Franz Wagner out of the lineup. That has been disastrous for them. I mean, Desmond Bane has started to play better of late, but still been kind of a letdown overall. Banchero has been super inefficient. So I think this is a spot in a rematch of a game that we saw in Orlando on Saturday. Cavs dominated that game. Now they play them at home. I'm on the Cavs tonight to cover the 5.5. Orlando's lost 3 in a row. They failed to cover 6 of their last 8. All 3 of those losses came by double digits.
All right, Nick. Thanks for the time, man. Best of luck tonight. Have a good week.
Appreciate it, guys.
There you go. Nick Whalen with RotoWire up next. Win some, lose some. Paulie has a 1,000-to-1 shot that hit over the weekend.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
NFL time. Warren Sharp joins the program. He has every Monday at this time throughout the entire football season. Follow him on X at Sharp Football. Website is sharp.football. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Hey, Warren, good afternoon. We've talked a lot about both those games yesterday so far. And as somebody holding Rams futures tickets, that was a tough one to swallow. What did you notice? I had a huge problem with how the Rams obviously decided to play football in the final couple of minutes there of the second quarter, and also how it opened up in the third quarter. What about you?
I definitely thought that there was an issue there with how Sean McVay was managing that situation. They have the ball with the lead. They're up 13-10. There's under 2 minutes left to go, and they've got 2nd and 5. And if they could run out the clock. There's 1 minute and 9 seconds left. They could basically end the game, end the half with the lead assured. They might be able to score more points, maybe not, if they simply call a run play on 2nd and 5. And the Seahawks aren't going to be calling a timeout there. You're probably going to gain a couple of yards. Maybe you get a first down. Maybe you set yourself up with 3rd and short. The clock's just going to tick if you want it to. Instead, Sean McVay gets ultra aggressive. Throws a pass on 2nd down, incomplete. Throws a pass on 3rd down, incomplete. Punt the ball back to the Seahawks. The Seahawks go in 45, 50 seconds, score a touchdown. All of a sudden, the Rams, instead of leading 13-10 entering halftime, are down 17-13. Who gets the ball coming out of the locker room? The Seahawks. What do the Seahawks do? Within 3 minutes of the start of the second half, they go down and score a touchdown. The Seahawks scored 14 points in about 3 minutes of game time at the end of the first half and at the beginning of the second half. That's hard to overcome for any team. And to think that you are the Rams on the road and you're leading 13-10, and then all of a sudden you're down 27-13 within 3 minutes of game time, it's very difficult to overcome.
What do you think of Sean Payton's performance? And I know they just showed the game, but with 6 minutes left, they took over at the New England 32-yard line and couldn't move the ball, and that's when the blocked field goal happened.
Yeah, and this is going to be a key question for Clint Kubiak in the Super Bowl for the Seahawks. It was an issue for the Houston Texans when they played the Patriots 2 weeks ago. When do you want to run the football against this Patriots run defense? Because this Patriots run defense has been elite. And on first down, after getting the ball at the 33-yard line of the Patriots, Denver starts the drive there, down 3 points with, like you said, 6 minutes to go. They decide to run the ball on 1st and 10 with a run game that has been completely ineffective from R.J. Harvey the entire game. That run loses 3 yards. A second down pass gains no yards. All of a sudden, you're in long yardage and difficult conditions, completely not taking advantage of the situation. Stidham scrambles for some yards to try to set up a makeable field goal to tie the game at 13. But not only is it too far back for them to make it, interesting stat that came out, or discussion point, was that the holder of the Denver Broncos came out and said, Will Lutz, the kicker said that he thinks the holder was only 7 yards back from the line of scrimmage instead of 8 where they normally line up, but they were only 7 because they couldn't see the markings on the field and they were rushing it too much. And as a result of not having the holder where he should be, it was easier for the Patriots to tip the ball because of the trajectory and the arc on the football. And the Patriots blocked that kick. They got a fingertip on it, rerouted it, missed field goal. And that was a special teams blunder by the Denver Broncos that potentially cost them the game, as well as Sean Payton's decision-making there on the first down to call the run. Then we also saw a special teams blunder that cost the Rams when Xavier Smith tries to catch the football, falling down backwards on the punt. When at that point, you just got to get out of the way. But what in the world is Sean McVay doing, sticking a guy who's young and inexperienced in that situation when you've had special teams issues all year? What does he do once that happens? The next couple of punts, who's back there to catch the ball? Kyren Williams. Is Kyren Williams going to run 30 yards after the catch? No, he's just there to catch the football, not make a mistake. He's a proven veteran. I don't know why they didn't have him in that situation earlier on in the game, but that cost them the game. So special teams mistakes in both of these championship games went a long way to actually deciding the outcome.
What was your reaction when McVay decided to kick the extra point to make it 31-27? Was that late third quarter?
Yeah, it was late third quarter. I thought, why not go for two? I don't know what charts he's looking at. Maybe he's got access to obviously different stuff than some of us on Twitter were thinking, but I don't know why you wouldn't go for that, because it opens the door to more possibilities in the future. There were multiple situations after that point where if they had just kicked a field goal, they could have tied the game. Instead, you're always needing a touchdown. And the whole fourth quarter, you're needing a touchdown. There's no way to tie the game because there's not a 4-point play in the NFL. So I did not understand why they didn't just try to go for two. Some people say, oh, well, it's a high-scoring game, so maybe you shouldn't because you don't want to chase the points that early. To me, I want to know what I need at that point on. I'm either going to be down 5 or I'm going to be down 3 and a field goal will tie the game. That's what I care most about. And if I am fortunate enough to be down 3 and I score a touchdown, guess what? Now the Seahawks can't kick a field goal to tie the game against me. Now the Seahawks need to score a touchdown to get back into the lead. So I don't know. I don't know about that decision-making whatsoever.
I'm with you on that one. Could this be an ugly, low-scoring Super Bowl based on how maybe you can't run on both defenses?
It's definitely possible. The key question is, what do these offensive minds try to come up with? Because I do respect them both. Josh McDaniels, Clint Kubiak. With Sam Darnold, you've got a more proven commodity who's done it for longer, who is a bit more of a veteran presence there with that Clint Kubiak gets to work with. With Drake May, Josh McDaniels is going to try to figure something out against a very tough defense. But will we need to get both of these guys to lean into the pass game, or do they come out conservatively and try to run the football? Will that run game be successful? I think that is honestly, when the Seahawks have the ball, that is the biggest question that I have in my mind with regard to Clint Kubiak is, you don't have Charbonnet. How much are you going to try to run the ball with Kenneth Walker on those first downs? And how effective are those runs going to be? Will they set you into second and long situations? Because I can tell you it's going to be very difficult to score points constantly battling out on second down on multiple series in a drive against the New England Patriots defense. You've got to have some efficiency on early downs, but if you don't from the run game, how are you going to develop that? We saw them lean a little bit more into the pass. The key with this in the NFC Championship game against the Rams, but the key to this game for me is, as it relates to that, the Seahawks are the number one most run-heavy team in the NFL. Over the course of all 60 minutes, nobody runs the ball at a higher rate. If you're just looking at early downs in the first half, when game state is irrelevant because we're not yet there, they run the ball at the fourth highest rate. So you've got a very run-focused team that's going up against arguably the best run defense in the NFL now that Milton Williams is back. What is your decision going to be at that point in time? And then let's say if the Seahawks are able to have some success and they do get a lead, will they be able to finish that game off because they aren't having success running the football against such a good run defense of the New England Patriots? Or will they choose to throw the football a little bit in those situations? How many opportunities will the Seahawks or will the Patriots get when forcing a punt back? If the Seahawks are leading and they have to punt because they're trying to run out the clock and they can't against this Patriots run defense. So I think there's a lot of interesting late game states, but for me, the most curious one is just how effective are those early runs and will they lean into the run game or go a different route?
Warren, in about 2 minutes here, a lot of books already have some props out. They're going to slowly, ease into the market in the next couple of days anyway, and then you're going to have thousands to bet on. How do you approach it, and what would you any advice for the audience here on how to attack a Super Bowl this early?
Well, I've already got a couple things that I've looked at, and there are certain states that I think that it's going to be interesting for this game. So there's a couple of bets that I've made already from props perspective, and then there's waiting and trying to see what the rest of the market is going to do. Which numbers are sort of moving in your direction? Which numbers you have to go on early. Timing everything is going to be very important. During the season, we didn't get the massive prop dump until overnight on Wednesdays at most spots. And so you had Thursday to kind of scramble, figure out injury news and that sort of thing. Here we're getting it basically 2 weeks away. Yeah. We had them Sunday night into Monday morning. 80% of like the major props from like main key players, rushing, receiving, receptions, yardage, everything has already been numbered and lined and out there for people to start placing bets on. So it's some of those derivatives like you're talking about, like first quarter this or second half that are going to be coming out. Some of the matchup props that are a lot of fun to dabble with if you're familiar and good at handicapping other sports as well. So there's no shortage of props for the Super Bowl. And just because they come out with a lot early does not mean that they're not going to continue to add more and more late, scouring the marketplace to try to uncover some gems, figuring out when to strike. Those are probably the most important things that you can be doing over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well said. Warren, thanks as always for the time. We appreciate it. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Follow him on X at @sharpfootball. Sharp.football is the website. We'll give you some fun Super Bowl props that are out already and discuss what happened yesterday. Spin it forward to the Super Bowl. Drake May became the first quarterback in NFL history to accomplish this in the win.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Thanks for watching, as always, on YouTube TV, listening on Sirius XM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. More NFL here. Super Bowl is set. And here at Circa, the Seattle Seahawks, 4.5 in the game? 46. You guys, still, is it 4.5 right now? We'll check the screen here. But Jamie Pelleggi joins the program now. He's a leading NFL odds maker here at Circa, and a lot to talk about here with the Circa Squares and other props as well. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in today. How are you?
Of course. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So before we get into the squares and everything like that, what were the results for the book like yesterday?
Well, as it's kind of out there in the public, but we definitely did not want the Seahawks to win. It was good that the Patriots won. That was a good future result for us. But yeah, we really needed the Seattle Seahawks out of there.
Yeah, because there was somebody who came here and bet pretty much everything, right, in August?
Yeah, we've been trying to get out of that liability for, since late August.
And can't
slowly getting out of it, but still, I mean, it was such a big liability.
Okay, so what was the high point of the number? Because you're currently sitting at 4.5 on the game. Were you at 5 at all?
We got to 5.5. So I opened last night, 4.5. 45.5, and it was actually kind of fun to book because for the first half hour it was just 4.5, 5.5 bounce, and 5 really isn't a big it's not a big move, but people were loving taking plus 5.5 for whatever reason. We landed on 5, then this morning we took plus 5 again, so just went back to 4.5.
A big bet at plus 5?
Yeah, limit bet. And at the time, yeah, it was like $50,000 bet.
Okay. As we get closer to game time, 2 weeks away, obviously, how big of bets are we talking about here? Will you guys take 7 figures?
Yeah, we actually already did this morning.
You took a 7-figure bet?
Yep. $1 million.
Which side?
Patriots.
Wow. On the Patriots, huh? This is going to be... okay, so my early takeaway was last night. Public's going to be on Seattle. Sharps will be on Patriots. Does that feel right to you?
That's a good assumption, yes, but... the public still likes to bet just, they'll bet Seahawks money line, but with the points, they'll take Patriots.
Okay. What's your opinion on the game?
I mean, Seahawks just look so dominant.
I know.
It's scary.
Yes.
And Drake May struggled in the playoffs, but he obviously went up against, 3 of the top 5 defenses in the league. That's the big storyline, but has not looked good at all.
No, not at all. So take us through the squares then. I believe Circa was the first legal sports book to ever do this when Derek and company introduced this.
Yeah, that's what I believe as well.
Years.
We trademarked it's like Circa Squares. I mean,
okay.
I don't think anyone else can call it squares or anything like that.
Okay. And now a lot of other books have gone down the same path. Right. They do because they're so popular, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Well, it's similar to like if a block pool or blocks that bars give out or whatever, but usually it's random. You can't really pick your numbers. Here, you can pick your number, and obviously it'll reflect on the odds. Obviously, if you pick 3-0 first quarter or something like that, that's pretty popular. But if you're trying to go for a home run, Like a lot of my buddies will fly out for Super Bowl. They love betting the squares. They'll take, a lottery ticket 2-5 first quarter. I'm sure that's 2,000 to 1.
Right.
So I mean, people just like trying to hit the long shots.
0-0, the most common first quarter number in Super Bowl history. It's happened 24% of the time. That is currently sitting, I believe I saw plus 425. So what's the biggest bet that you will take on a square, to either the limit bet or to win amount?
I think it's to win 200,000 or whatever the longest odds are. Like that's
and will you take those bigger bets?
I'm not sure. I mean, over the counter. I mean, on the app, I think it's obviously because. I mean, we have 2001s laying out there. On the app, I think we can only take $100 bet.
Okay.
But over the counter, we might take more.
And then some people come to the book or on the app, whatever, and they will bet every single number.
But that's correct. Because when I first started out here, I was a ticker writer, and I had to deal with customers. I would come to the window, yeah, just give me $1 on every square. Because what people like to do, they like to do that, and then at their own Super Bowl parties, they hand them out.
That's
Hand
right.
them out as gifts, yeah.
Good point.
So that's a popular thing that people like to do.
Yep. Let me show this this tweet, because it's interesting that Mina Kimes is also a Seahawk fan for ESPN. But this is going through all over social media what happened. After Geno Smith was traded to the Raiders, she said, "This is a terrible move by Seattle. Chances of upgrading are extremely low." And Geno Smith had a good year in Seattle, and they won 10 games. So it goes back to maybe you're kicking yourself. Why didn't you grab maybe the 60 to 1 like that one guy was gobbling up? But she is wrong that they upgraded. But who knew Geno was going to be this bad, number one, but that he wanted out, and then Sam Darnold can win 14 games again.
Well, who thought it was a major upgrade, though, from going Geno Smith to Sam Darnold? All the question marks are still out because of how Darnold finished the year last year, right? Otherwise, he'd still be the Minnesota quarterback in theory.
Yeah. I think the other big thing, though, was the creativity and how JSN became a star. Well, and how that changed the offense. Because we've talked about, and Charchi was in studio, his prop was $950 for receiving yards, which Charch loved over, and the guy was on pace to break the record.
He doubled that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Overall? Okay, so how often will you actually change the numbers of the odds, by the way, when it comes to Circus Squares?
We'll try not to change them at all.
Oh, really?
I mean, obviously, if it starts piling up on like I said, 2 to 5, and it's 2001. We have a liability of $1 million. I mean, I'm sure Derek's not going to be happy about that. So we would lower that a little bit. But I mean, these are pretty straightforward.
Okay, what's the plan here at Circa for the rest of this week anyway in terms of rolling out the props?
Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna roll out first touchdown scorer. That whole tournament pool. We're gonna get out Super Bowl MVP. Get that out, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday is when we're trying to get two-sided props, index props, most receiving yards in the whole Super Bowl, most rushing yards in the whole Super Bowl. So that's by Saturday, we'll have everything up.
A perfect result generally for a sports book is a very low-scoring Super Bowl.
Yes.
Usually, right?
Yeah, because the public should be on all the overs. Sharps coming at the end, bet all the unders.
Yeah. So if you think Paulie's been making the case all day that he even threw out like a 13-10 finish, a 16-13 kind of game. Defenses rule the day here. If you're of that belief, it is best to wait until much closer to game time because that you want to allow the public, to come in and just hammer every single over for 2 weeks, and then you come in at the end, and then that's when you pounce on the unders.
Or either openers, or you wait till the end. Because,
Yeah.
if you get a good edge on an opener, you want to bet the under. But because, it can move. I mean, it's Super Bowl's pretty straightforward. They know now, but still, some rushing yards or receiving yards, depending on the player, can move, 5, 6, 7 yards.
Oh, no doubt. You also took an exacta bet. Jeff Benson tweeted this out last night, August 25th. There was one person who has $100 on the Patriots over the Seahawks in an exacta, 3,100 to 1.
Yeah, pretty remarkable, huh?
How about that shot? That's to your point about it was sitting there right for you, huh?
Yeah.
You knew that the Patriots were bringing in Vrabel,
right?
Second-year quarterback, and they had a very easy schedule.
True, but in hindsight,
You took one bet on it.
Right.
I couldn't get Seattle. I could see the case actually, and that's like shame on us, right? Because you could see the case for Seattle. Good defense, won 10 games, even though they're tough. In a tough division. But remember the Patriots were 1-2. Well, we talked about it all day on the pregame show. That game should have been in New England, but they lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's right.
Week 1, and then they blew that game against Pittsburgh, and they got up to 130 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. after the slow start. And now here they are, winners of 16 of the last 17.
Jamie Pileggi is our guest, leading NFL odds maker here at Circa. We're talking about the odds board, the squares that they offer here as well. They're up already. I'll give you this. So I said 24% of the time in the first quarter, it's been 0-0, most common out of any landing spot. In the second quarter, it's only hit 0-0 twice in the history of the game. How about that? And then you could actually get some wonky, like, final game scores where it pops, where you might have a 9-6, something like that.
Yeah.
Where teams go for two.
Yeah.
There's a safety involved, whatever, where you could get on some funny business here. And then I'm going to guess, like, when that safety happened on the first play of the game many years ago, that was Broncos and Seahawks, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That number was, I think, 50-1 or something like that, maybe even a little bit higher than that. Some books.
Oh, that was a monster.
Was it
first score of the game?
Safety.
Oh, it was huge.
Whatever it was.
100, yes.
Okay. That has to, because of that result, right? Like, that's no longer going to be available at that number.
Right. Well, yeah, because now, and books are aware of that, so they'll, shade it a little bit lower probably. But, I mean, it depends. If someone offers, a two-sided prop, will the first score be a safety yes, no? I mean, that makes them have a,
For sure. Yeah. And that'll be another one, too, where is the safety still a very, like, public bet?
Yeah.
Or is that more like 10, 15 years ago?
No, people still like the safety bet.
Okay. And then the sharps hammer the no still?
And scoregami. People love the score.
Yeah.
Oh, the scoregami.
Yeah. And overtime?
Yeah, overtime.
Overtime. Got that, yes.
Yep.
I think Bob Dancer was telling us a story many years ago. Bob Dancer is a legendary video poker player and, written books, podcasts, the whole thing. He was saying all of his sharp friends who bet Super Bowls would say, why don't we just all hammer the no on the safety? He did it like a couple years in a row, and that's when it happened on the stretch. He's like, guys, I'm out. I'm never doing it ever again.
Sure.
He was one and done. It was the first year he tried it, or?
Yeah, I think it was the first couple of years that he tried it. It came in both times.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, thanks for the time today. We appreciate the perspective.
Of
Thank
course,
you.
I love your guys' show. It's great.
Nice to meet you. Appreciate it. Get ready to win a larger-than-life World Soccer Championship experience only at Circa. One lucky winner gets a 2-night stay, a cabana for the games at Stadium Swim, $500 in credit, plus $250 in food and beverage. Arrive in style with limo transportation. Celebrate with cocktails at Legacy Club. Enter now and kick off the World Soccer Championship at Circa Resort and Casino. For giveaway details, visit circalasvegas.com. Cabana, 2-night stay, $500 in credit, $250 in food and beverage, limo, cocktails, circalasvegas.com. If you think it's that type of game, Mitch, Myers at some spots 90-1 to win MVP, and for the special teams, Jones 55, Shaheed 28-1. Some early numbers, Super Bowl MVP.
Can you get like a 22-17 game where the Seahawks score one touchdown, he kicks 5 field goals?
Absolutely.
Walks out of there winning the MVP?
Absolutely.
Butker was more than 400-1 a couple years ago. He's 90 now? That's also Mahomes that he's got on his team, obviously.
Yeah.
Coaching observations from yesterday. One team has to be full of regret, and maybe we need to look at this former coach through a new prism coming up here and Follow the Money.